Ladies and gentlemen, and members of the jury, thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Mitch Postal. I'm president of the San Mateo County Historical Association, and we're so very pleased to see you all. It's my privilege to be able to introduce our Master of Ceremonies for tonight, our old friend, Joe Fonzie. Until recently, Joe was the KTVU's Fox 2 sports anchor. He began in 1982 at KPIX, and then he joined KTVU in 1995. He has covered 4 Giants World Series, 6 of the 8 49ers Super Bowls, 6 Warriors title runs, 4 of them resulting in championships, and the 2007 All-Star Game in San Francisco. So Joe, can you please take it away?
Well, thank you for having me here. And you know, what you kind of highlighted there, Vince, is how fortunate we are in this part of the world. If you think of the things that we've seen in sports and professionally, and that first Warrior run, I was back in Cleveland, and we were doing a little ad of how many professional sports championships the Bay Area had. Cleveland had the 1964 Browns when we were back there. That was the first time that the Warriors and Cavaliers were playing for that first championship that the Warriors won. We started adding it up and said, wait a minute, 5 49ers Super Bowls, 3 Giants World Series, 4 A's World Series, 3 Raiders Super Bowls, 1 in Los Angeles, but you counted 2 in Oakland, and 1 Warrior championship at that time, and Cleveland had 0. So, since then we've had 4 more Warrior championships since then. So we're so ridiculously fortunate that we've seen all those kinds of things in this part of the world, and I'm so ridiculously fortunate that I got to cover a good portion of that. So, number one, thank you for having me here, and I think before we go on, we have to commend the people who have done what they've done in this incredible building. And you know, I mean, this is just beautiful. When I first moved to the Bay Area, I came here to Redwood City, and I actually was in that box as a juror at one time. So we are being judged by 3 members of our peers right there, so be careful what we do here. Anyway, so number one, so many people are responsible for something like this happening. And then number 2, you know, being here a long time, I was going, okay, Brent, I've covered his team many times. In fact, the undefeated season just a couple of seasons ago, what an incredible accomplishment that was. And we always loved when Frankie Ferrari was in the USF highlights, because did that name just sound fast? Frankie Ferrari, somehow like Tommy Toyota or something. I just doesn't get it. You know, when Frankie Ferrari was in the highlights, we loved that. Okay, so the first thing we want to do a little bit of business. And that is that we want to welcome you all, and especially the newest 24 members who have joined the San Mateo County Historical Association tonight, because many of you were not members previously, and you've purchased 2 or more tickets to this event. So thank you to all of you. And we do want to briefly introduce our sponsoring organization. That's the San Mateo County Historical Association. It is the private, non-profit organization that runs this old courthouse as a history museum and also operates the Woodside Store and Sanchez Adobe historic sites. And now, so we do want to introduce the board members in attendance. So if we could have those board members please stand. John Latora, John Schroyer, and Joe Rush. Again, it doesn't get done without all of them. And then we do have a special guest, some of the past inductees. Todd Speaker, he's the past Peninsula Sports Hall of Fame honoree and current benefactor to Capital Campaign. And Bill Raines. Bill here? Billy, there you are. San Mateo County Historical Association volunteer, and another person that I got to see personally win 2 Super Bowls. So that's pretty good stuff, Billy. Local guy who always stays involved. So we do want to thank also tonight's sponsors. And for the silver sponsorship, the San Francisco Peninsula. And if John Hutar would stand, please. President of the San Francisco Peninsula and Visitors Convention Bureau. The bronze, John Schroyer with Golden Gate Sotheby's. John, if you would stand, he's also a chairman of this event.
He's working.
Kirk McGowan and Pat Geary with Wicca Ranch Development, Emerald Hills. Nancy Statton, Abbey Carpet and Floors. Be careful. And Champion Charities. And I believe that they are not here right now. All right. So if we would also like to ask all the past honorees, if you've been inducted, if you would please stand so we can recognize you and honor you.
Stand up.
So let me just say that I've done a few of these kinds of things, and you know, there's the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame. There's San Jose has a very significant one. Various different high schools. You know, but there's something special about, I mean, number one, I walked through the hallways and said, oh my goodness, I knew, you know, but did we really know that, you know, Lynn Swan, Barry Bonds, Tom Brady? Anybody see the Brady roast, by the way? Yeah, we won't be doing that kind of material. You know, John Madden, Bill Walsh, Gary Beeben, the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, when you look, so you guys are going in there with those people. That's pretty good stuff. And the one thing that I've recognized is that when you're recognized by the people who know you, they already know what you're about, and they still want to honor you, then that's a big deal, right? Because they know what you're all about. And I know that, you know, in this part of the world, as we talk about sports, I live over on the East Bay now, and, you know, I know there's kind of regional rivalries sometimes, but I thought I should tell you something that I did hear about what the Raiders are up to these days. Any Raider fans here? It's all 49, right? Any Raiders fans? Okay, I was going to talk slower if there were Raider fans. They actually, we still get reports of what they're up to, and you know, they just had the mini camps and all that recently. And they weren't out on the field. Everybody's going, how come they're not on the field? Well, they were in studying for their mandatory drug test, because someone told them that a positive result on a test is a good thing.
That's wrong. That's just wrong.
All right, as I promised we wouldn't go down the Tom Brady road routine here. So now I want to introduce John Horgan, who's going to talk about the honorees here tonight.
Thanks very much. I think I turned my mic on, I'm not sure. I'm not tech savvy.
You're good.
My cell phone is off. And you are all free of watching CNN tonight. You are here with us. The mics will not be muted. Okay? Thank you all for being here. Without you, there is no event. This is a particularly good group, this glorious half dozen inductees. All of them are highly accomplished, strong, very strong resumes. And this event began in 1989, back in the days when there were actual daily newspapers, and you had to pay for them, and they actually had huge sports sections with box scores and minutiae and the top 20 scores. It was a different time. So we decided in 1989 at the old San Mateo Times, and it was the 100th birthday of that particular newspaper, we decided to create a Hall of Fame for the Peninsula. And it has grown to the point, and by the way, it was basically saved by the Historical Association. Without them, without Mitch, Carmen, and the rest of these fine folks, we would not be here tonight. Guaranteed. That they decided to preserve, this is basically a family event. It's a community event. It's a reunion. It's all about these small communities. And we live in an area where everything changes by the hour. I mean, the social media, my goodness. But we honor the past and the present. And I'll tell you what, as we go forward on the peninsula, the number of outstanding young athletes and coaches and programs, they're increasing, especially on the female side. That's where we've seen the most growth. Flag football is a phenomenon. I chatted with Patrick Walsh, that's from Sarah, the other day. He said that he started out a year and a half ago with 3 schools involved, 3 sites, he calls them sites. A year from now, he's going to have 16 sites. He says there's going to be thousands of girls playing flag football in California within two or 3 years. So it's pretty amazing. Anyway, I digress. That's a personal problem. My wife said I was truly vaccinated with a phonograph needle. Shutting me up is difficult. But let's talk about Brent Brennan, our first inductee. Local guy. Grew up in San Mateo Park and Redwood City. Played football. You went to San Mateo for 1 year? They still claim you. San Mateo High still claims Brent. Anyway, he wound up at St. Francis, played football there, did a great job, played at UCLA, correct? And I think he's a born coach. His dad was an outstanding athlete. Now, his dad passed too soon. It would be great, it would have been great if he could have been here tonight, but he passed a while ago. But he was a real sportsman. His kids played sports. They played on the weekends, they played during the week. And it's no surprise that Brent became a coach, certainly an athlete and then a coach. Did you start at Woodside as a volunteer? He started at Woodside High as a volunteer, and he just kept going, to the point where he was named the San Jose State head football coach in 2017, and he resurrected the program. He brought it back to real life. They won 3 titles. Oh, no, I'm sorry, he went to 3 bowl games. He won a Mountain West title. A lot of what he did was staggering at San Jose State, because think about this. How many state universities have dropped football? LA State, San Francisco State, Sonoma State, Hayward State. The list is incredible. Let's see, who's left? Sacramento State, Fresno State, San Diego State, San Jose State. What about Humboldt State? Now it's Cal Poly Humboldt. Are they playing football? They dropped it. They dropped it last year. So, recruiting, coaching at a state university like San Jose State, a major challenge. Now, he's been named the head coach at Arizona University. That is a challenge. Right away, new league. They're going to be in a bigger league, the Big 12, starting now. So he's got that to contend with. There's a new athletic director. The school is talking about some budget issues like they all are. That is not new. And then, of course, there's name, image, and likeness. The players are paid. The players are paid. It's like professional sports now. So, and he's brand new at it. Brent, come and talk to us about your career and what's coming.
Well, it's good to see everybody. I want to make sure you guys know I have my mom and my mother-in-law and my wife here, along with a bunch of other family. Our brother Pat has a beer in the stands in the jury box. My brother Brad has one over on the sideline here. But got my sister Brady here with her husband. And I got my 2 kids here. I got Casey Brennan and Scotty Brennan. Our oldest is back in Colorado, probably just hanging out. Just doing a little summer school and having a good time. this has been like a very busy 6 months or 5 months for me. I got hired at Arizona on the 16th of January, and my man Andrew right here, he works with us. Yeah, say hi, Andrew. Come on, man. There you go. But it's been a whirlwind, and so it's funny that I'm up here speaking because I didn't know I was going to have to do that. The good news is that I have to do this with some frequency, and so I'll try not to bore you. I'm one of those kids that grew up with great parents. I would say a lot different than a lot of the young people I coach now. But I was fortunate, I had great parents, heavily involved, had every opportunity I could ever hope to play sports on a high level and travel and play football and basketball and baseball and all that good stuff growing up. But the coaching thing was probably a byproduct of the great coaches I had. Whether that was Little League coaches, one of our old coaches right here, Nick Flares is here, which is pretty cool. I'm one of those guys that benefited greatly from those. Ron Calcagno was my high school coach at St. Francis, an incredible, legendary coach. And then the college coaches I had at UCLA also had a tremendous impact on me. And I think that's one of those cool things that when you get to coach, it's never about you. It's always about the players that you serve and the coaches that you work with. And when we took over at San Jose State, I had the blessing of having worked for Dick Tomey and Mike Riley and Rich Ellerson, a bunch of great coaches that showed me the way and kind of helped me learn how to do it. And San Jose was an incredible journey for us. When we got there, we were not good. We went, my first 2 years, we went 3-20, I think. It was rough. If you ever see me in a game on the sidelines and you see me cover my face, I'm screaming into my hands. It means something really bad has happened in that football game. But the San Jose thing was this incredibly rewarding journey. And we did it with Peninsula kids. We did it with kids from St. Francis and Bellarmine and College of San Mateo. And it was such a rewarding time there. And we were there for 7 years. And I had great coaches working with me. I had incredible administration supporting us on it, and it was a lot of fun. It was not easy, but it was fun and incredibly rewarding. And when this next opportunity came, it was just something that I was so excited to be a part of the University of Arizona. I was a graduate assistant there in 2000, so it's been 24 years since I've been back, in any kind of working capacity. My brother played at Arizona. And my wife went to school there. My other brother played water polo there. So we got a lot of Arizona ties. But it's also the place where I get to kind of spiritually reconnect with Dick Tomey, who's passed away and was my mentor, and just this incredible coach and incredible human being. And I think as we get to do these, our professional lives, it's not always, I think it's rare when you have a chance you think about someone every day. And that's what Dick Tomey is for me. What would he do? Oh, this is a mess. How do I fix this? He was such an incredible person on my journey. And I'm still learning. And I'm still screwing things up. They mentioned name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal and college football. Ben and I were just talking about. I said, you just missed it, buddy. He just missed that window of NIL. But it is true. We are playing players now. And it is a very, very different college football than most of us grew up with. But I'll tell you this, it is still what I consider the most rewarding profession in the world. I love going to work every day. I'm working with incredible people, and every day it gives me a chance to honor those coaches that I play for or that I coach for in the most fantastic way, because I get to give back to this next generation. And people ask me how kids have changed in 26 years, or 27 years of coaching, I think. It hurts to say that. I'll tell you this, I wouldn't say they've changed that much. I would say the world around them has changed, and that's made it a little bit more complicated. But I'm very grateful for this honor. I'm grateful to be here. This is awesome. It's good to see everybody. I'm thankful that my family is here, and I got some friends here. I got my high school teammate up here, my king, which is just an incredible showing. So I just want to say thank you all for hearing me out, and bear down, Arizona.
advisors in Congressman Mullen. And of course the flag. The next inductee is Ben Burr-Kirven from Sacred Heart Prep. Now, many decades ago, football, which is a brutal sport, it's the most physical sport out there along with ice hockey and Australian football. Have you ever watched Australian football? Yeah. Now that's something else. They don't wear pads, and they just maul one another down under. Whew. Don't take that the wrong way. Back in the day, football teams were much smaller. When Sarah played Modern Day in December for the Open Division Championship of the state of California, Sarah went down to Southern California with about 100 players. Modern Day had about 125. That didn't happen way back when. Players went both ways. They really didn't come off the field that much. Not anymore. Now there's specialization. Now you have linemen who weigh 340 pounds and they're 6'8". They don't play, these are offensive linemen. They don't play defense. They're not on kickoff teams. Ben Burr-Kirven is a throwback. He rarely came off the field at Sacred Heart Prep. Offense, defense, special teams. He was like a coach on the field, and his competitive fire was incredible. Sacred Heart Prep only has 300 boys, but it seemed like half those boys were pretty good football players, and he was the best of the bunch. They went 39-3 when he was on that varsity. Multiple championships. One of their greatest games was against El Cerrito. El Cerrito was heavily favored. This is a playoff, a NorCal playoff. Ben played offense that day like an all-state running back. He just went through that El Cerrito team. It was unbelievable. Anyway, he was the Division III California Player of the Year on defense in his senior year. Then at Washington, he played only defense at Washington, right? You didn't play special teams, right? Okay. So he's only playing defense. And again, he's the Defensive Player of the Year at Washington. And he'll tell you this, I think, he's undersized. He's not 6'4", 235. He is 5'11".
Oh, 86.
So, okay, he's a good 6. All right. 220? Okay. But anyway, he wound up in the NFL. Grit, determination, played for the Seahawks, but unfortunately got hurt. And it has derailed his career. But going way back, I go back to the 1950s when high school football teams were much smaller and there was very little specialization. A guy like Lynn Swan, who was mentioned, he played offense, he played defense, and he returned kicks. Ben is a throwback. One of the greatest football players ever to come out of the Peninsula. His coaches will tell you that. I talked to Ed Larios the other day. He said, wow. He said, Ben was like 3 players and a part-time coach. Ben, come on.
Yeah, like Brent said, a little bit of surprise to be talking to you guys, but I'm not the orator that Brent is, but I'll do my best. It is just a really tremendous honor to be joining such an incredible group of athletes, and the athletes here today. My mother's here today with me. But I think the thing that I come back to is just, the Bay Area raised me in sports and everything, and I was fortunate to basically play my entire career, both professionally in college and obviously high school on the West Coast. And I think back to my very first sports memory, similar to Brent, my mom's had me in sports the day they could, because it was that or having me climb out of the house. And so I remember being at Burgess Park as a 2-year-old playing AYSO, and from then on it kind of took over my life, and I was incredibly fortunate that I ended up at Sacred Heart Prep, and I got to play for some really, really incredible coaches. We mentioned Ed Larios, who was an amazing guy, but my coach there was a guy named Peter Lavorado. Some of you guys may know of him. He definitely changed my life, and I think I always thought that I was a baseball player, but he let me become the man that I wanted to be, both on the field and off. And there's nothing like sports, and I think we all know that. That's why we're here. And as you mentioned, I unfortunately had a real severe injury in the NFL. But my love of sports, I'm still trying to go, and I'm hopeful to get back out there. But I feel so honored to be here tonight with you guys. To have my name go up with people like Barry Bonds and Tom Brady, it doesn't seem real for a kid that was, like you said, too small to play for Stanford. So apparently I did all right. So I'm so honored to be here, and it means so much for me to get to go in this Hall of Fame. Thank you so much.
The next inductee is very interesting. Frankie Ferrari. He was an outstanding basketball player when he was just a little kid. Now his dad had something to do with that. Okay, his dad was an excellent player himself, and he's a coach as well. So from the time Frankie was 2 or 3 years old, he was playing basketball, and he was being taught the right way. Frankie was actually, it's interesting, he was a quarterback as a freshman in high school, and he was really good. In other words, he was a point guard and a quarterback. It's kind of the same thing. His job was to facilitate his teammates. And I remember the varsity football coach watching Frankie play football. He goes, God, I just hope he stays with us to play football. And of course, basketball was the whole enchilada for him. And he went on. In his senior year, he was the regional player of the year in the San Jose Mercury, which is a pretty good honor because that includes all the schools from SI and Sacred Heart in the city, all the way to King City down in the south. And his hallmark was passing, ball handling, leadership, savvy, competitive toughness, grit, and he could shoot, but his main thing was making his teammates better. That's a gift. You look at a lot of these high-level players now, I'm not sure they make their teammates better. He did. And he's now an assistant coach at USF. And it's kind of, the timing tonight is pretty good because a USF player was the 31st player picked in the draft, the NBA draft today. In other words, the first round is 30 teams. So this fellow, last name is Monpo, he was picked 31. So basically, he's really a top pick, really. And I can't recall the last time USF had a player drafted that high. 83. So it's been 41 years. And Frankie's on the staff. He's going to talk to us tonight about his journey. He played a lot in Europe, and he was very successful there. In fact, might you be going back? Do you think you might go back and play there? Okay, why don't you talk to us about that?
Good to see everyone. Just a quick thank you, Joe, John, and Mitch, everyone that put on this event. It's awesome to be here. Just really quick, I'll be short and sweet here. As I think back of my time at USF, my time overseas, a couple things, even now to this day, everyone's talking about you're the pride of San Francisco and the Bay Area and whatnot. And I correct them. I'm pretty quick to urge and correct them and say, no, I'm from the Peninsula. I'm from Burlingame. And even in overseas, when they say, well, you're from this beautiful city of San Francisco and what a great place. No, I'll pull the map out and show them, like, hey, look, I'm from the Peninsula, I'm from Burlingame. I take great pride in that. And so, just wanted to, explain that to you guys and say it's an honor to be here. A quick couple thank yous. Our Lady of Angels, my parish, place that raised me, big thank you to them. John Philippopoulos, Pete Ramus at Burlingame High School, Scott Sidwell, our AD, Kyle Smith, my coach at USF, Mom, Dad, Ralphie, Vinny Giacomo. You guys took a kid that had some crazy dreams and aspirations and believed in me hard days. And you stuck with me. There was some tough times and trials and tribulations, but I could always turn to you guys for support. I look out here and see a lot of familiar faces, people that I remember seeing at my grade school games and then high school games and college and even professional. And as my career kind of shifted through ups and downs, I went from kind of proving haters and naysayers wrong to proving the supporters and the people that love me right. And that was a huge turning point for me. It's something that kind of carries with me through my coaching career. And just kind of to finish, I think following the footsteps of a coach like Brent Brennan, a local guy that's at the height of his career and somebody that I've been following since I was a kid. I have big shoes to fill, and I think I have a lot left in me, and I'm excited to represent the Peninsula and Burlingame as I carry on. So thank you all for being here.
Our next inductee cannot be with us. He passed away several years ago. But again, Sam Goldman was a huge supporter of this event and the Hall of Fame out there in the hallway. Sam was incredibly optimistic. He was always positive. He was a journalism teacher at Crestmore High, which is closed, and Skyline College. Both are in San Bruno. And he produced dozens and dozens of writers, editors, photographers, media people. And sports was really his thing. He was a sports information director at SF State and Skyline College, and he took a particular interest in this Hall of Fame. He promoted it, he nourished it. He was, I remember there were times when it didn't look like this thing might not survive. Newspapers were folding up, advertisers were leaving. It was getting to be a little dicey, and Sam always said, not a problem. We will find a way. And he was right. Without him, I'm not sure it would have survived, at least in the form that it has survived. Anyway, his daughter Sandra is here, and she's going to accept the plaque and maybe tell us a little bit about Sam and what a wonderful person he was.
Good evening and thank you. With my sisters, Andrea, Julie, and Ruthie, my husband David, my brother-in-law Dale, my nieces and nephews, my grandson, we're all here celebrating our father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. It is such an honor for all of our family to be here tonight to accept this special and amazing recognition on behalf of our beloved father, Samuel Goldman, who always had a business card that said he was the wildest PR journalism teacher in the West. If you ever got one of those. These were pretty cool. And he was very proud of that, of who he was and what he did. For many years, he was on the selection committee and therefore knew many of the previous inductees. He would be so thrilled to be part of this exceptional group of colleagues and friends. And thank you for welcoming me and hugging me as I sat there nervously. I really appreciate it. Our father passed away 10 years ago this week. This is a wonderful way to honor and remember his involvement and contributions to the world of sports on the Peninsula as a journalism teacher, public relations professional, sports information director, and in retirement as a volunteer at numerous college and professional sporting events. My mother always said he didn't retire, he was retreaded. He truly enjoyed all that he did. In fact, he didn't really stop until around 2012, the last World Series he was able to be a part of, and he wasn't feeling good, and our whole family knew we were coming to a passage. And it was very hard to accept because Daddy was like the Energizer Bunny. He just kept on going and going and going. And for those of you who personally knew our father, you will recall that alongside him was always our mother for 63 years. And he would always say that none of his accomplishments and career choices would have occurred if it was not for the love and support from his lovely wife, Adele. So, in accepting this award as a 2024 inductee into the Peninsula Sports Hall of Fame, our father, Sam, would be proud to thank the committee and the San Mateo County Historical Association for this wonderful honor. Our dad was very special in the way he greeted people. I am sure that many of you knew his frequent phrases, being called a great leader, a hero, a chief. And he always had a container, and my kids and grandkids still have his containers, that always had butterscotch and peppermint candies, which he liberally distributed to his friends and colleagues out on the field, in the press box, wherever he saw them. And he would want to say to you today and tonight, to have a thrill and to keep smiling, and I have peppermints in my purse, so if anybody wants any, they're right here. And thank you so much.
Our last two inductees are emblematic of what's happening on the Peninsula now. Since Title IX, it's been over 50 years since Title IX was approved and implemented in the United States. Basically what it did was it put female athletes, or females in general, but female athletes in particular, on a more level playing field with their male counterparts. And here in the suburbs of the Peninsula, women's sports have just boomed. It's just been incredible to watch it. We did some research a couple of years ago, and it turned out that in terms of high school state championships in all sports combined, the female athletes in San Mateo County, the female teams, beginning in 1982 when they actually started to have state titles for girls. The girls have already outpaced the male teams 2-1. And they've done that in 42 years. It's really amazing. Now, Lindsay James, DeAlba, is a perfect example of what's happened. She was a multi-sport athlete at Sequoia High School, right up the road here. And then she went to Cal, where she played softball. Now, softball might be the best sport for girls in San Mateo County. Soccer's very good, volleyball's very good, basketball's fine, but softball, I think there are more scholarships coming out of all these softball programs than any other sport. For example, and they're picking up on these players when they're in grammar school because of these travel teams. One of the best players at UCLA right now is from Aragon High School in San Mateo. Her name's Megan Grant. When she was in the 8th grade, UCLA offered her a full ride in the 8th grade. That's how intense the recruiting is now for female athletes. And Megan Grant is a star at UCLA. And Lindsay James was a star at Cal. A little earlier, about 20 years before Megan Grant. That doesn't make you old. It makes you seasoned. She hit .438 as a junior. Now, Cal is a high-level program. They're at one of the top 25 programs in the U.S., as far as I can tell. And there's been a pipeline of local girls going to Cal to play softball. I can think of 6 right off the top of my head. Lindsay is one of them. She played on 3 College World Series teams for the Bears. She also played on the Greek Olympic team. Maybe you could talk to us about that a little bit. I'd like to know a little more about that. But the best thing is, Terilyn Moe, who's sitting right next to her, and Lindsay, the two of them are emblematic. Basketball for Terilyn Moe, softball for Lindsay James. They are emblematic of the female sports boom along the peninsula. So, Lindsay, talk to us a little bit about your Greek Olympic experience.
Okay, well, unlike the gentleman all the way across the row that did not have anything written down, I am a mother of 2, and so I actually suffer from mom brain. So in the car ride over here, I had to jot a few items down just to make sure that I'm hitting all of my talking points. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I am truly honored. I grew up going to the Stick on Thursday nights with my dad, watching Will Clark at first base. I grew up, on the couch watching the Niners every Sunday. Bayer sports is everything to me. So thank you. Tonight, my mom and dad are here, my bonus mom, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my son Dylan, and my daughter Skylar, and my husband Matt. The reason why I left Matt for the last was because he's very instrumental in my idea of what sports is about. He's an Oakland A's fan. Poor guy. And so when we got married, that was something I had to kind of come to terms with. But as I started watching the Oakland A's, I realized they have this, this thing that is just what sports is all about. And within our journey of me kind of converting into the halfway A's Giants fan, he had me watch the movie Moneyball. And within that movie, one of the lines, and I'm not even really sure if it's a true line that he said, Billy Bean said, "How can you not be romantic about baseball?" And that's how I feel about sports in general. If you really, really love something, you go all in. You can get hurt by it, but you are so authentic and vulnerable. That's what makes it so amazing. So my love story with softball wouldn't be possible without my mom and dad. They're basically the co-authors of my story. And I didn't really realize this until I became a mother, and until I had to wake up at 8 a.m. for a t-ball game. I didn't realize how much they sacrificed for me, practices, and then going to every sandlot hot in California of places you don't even really want to be, and then the rest of the country where you didn't, the Holiday Inns were a little bit dicey. And they gave up their summer holidays, we never took a vacation, so they could emotionally and financially write this dream for me. So, without your love and support, I'm not sure that I would have still been in love with softball. My husband and my kids joke every morning I'm like this ultimate cheerleader that likes to kind of, I don't know, like write a story for my kids and also pump them up for the day. I like to tell them, you gotta be kind, you have to include people, bring someone into the lunch table, and most of all, what do I say to my kids? Try, try, try. And so for me as a mom, hopefully I want my kids to be able to fall in love with something the same way that I did with softball, and it doesn't have to be a sport, it just needs to be anything. And hopefully that you guys will be able to have a story just like I have. So thank you to the Peninsula Hall of Fame for including me. I'm so, so honored. And it's a really, really sweet final chapter of my story.
Last but not least, certainly not least, is Terilyn Moe from Pacifica, Terra Nova High School and the University of Nevada, Reno, basketball player. When she was a teenager, she played on one of the outstanding public school basketball teams that we've seen in the last 30 years here at Terra Nova. Her coaches are here. They deserve a lot of the credit too. But Terilyn was physical, strong, fearless. She set records at Terra Nova, and I'm going to read them. You're going to read these. She scored a total of 2,352 points, dished out 550 assists. Frankie will appreciate that. And produced 382 steals. He'd appreciate that too. So she did it all. Now, before this event started, I asked Terilyn if I could mention another great player from her high school teams. The coaches know who I'm going to mention. Her name was Yvonne Cook Taylor. Outstanding. Just a flash. So quick, so great. The two of them together, OMG. Whoa. Yvonne went to Texas Tech. Terilyn went to Nevada Reno. 2 years ago, Yvonne passed away. Tragic, incredibly sad. I just wanted to mention her as we talk about girls basketball tonight. Girls basketball on the Peninsula, at the high school level, is dominated by the private schools and the parochial schools. It's a different enchilada. Archbishop Mitty in San Jose is one of the top teams in the nation. They were number one in the nation for quite a while until they were upset in the state final last spring. Our section, the Central Coast section, again goes from St. Ignatius and Sacred Heart all the way to King City. Our section has one public school girls championship team, one state championship team, and 30 private or parochial school champions. So, even with great public school programs like Terra Nova, and what those coaches produced with Terilyn and Yvonne, it's still a tough road to a state title. But what Terilyn and Yvonne and the rest produced was history making in Pacifica. Terilyn, I think the thing that really struck me the first time I saw her play was how strong she was. I mean, she was like 15 years old, and she could have played against a lot of older women. I mean, that's how strong she was. And I do remember a game against Aragon. It was a playoff game, and the Aragon parents were complaining and yelling at the officials that Terilyn Moe was just, oh, she's just too rough. And I'm going, you wouldn't say that if she was playing for Aragon. You'd have her up as an All-American, you know, which, and in fact, she was All-State one year. I'm going to double check. Yeah, she was. She was All-State one year. But, wow. What an impressive athlete. Terra Nova was really low. I think he played volleyball as well. Yeah, another multi-sport athlete. That's a real good thing, by the way. Play more than one sport, get your feet wet, lose some games, learn how to lose, and then win. I don't know about you folks, but most of us learn more from losing than we do from winning, because you have to come back. Anyway, Terilyn, talk to us about what you're doing now, how you got here, and who the influences on your career are.
I just want to say thank you to all of my fellow attendees here tonight. I'm deeply honored to stand here tonight and accept this incredible recognition. This moment is a testament to the hard work, dedication, and support of so many people who have been a part of my journey. So many of those people are here in the stands tonight. My husband, Gleb, my children, Aaliyah and Jaden, my parents, Tanya, Lynn, I have my aunt, I have an old high school PE teacher here as well. I have two of my brothers, my bonus parents came from Reno, my high school coaches. I also have my AAU coach, shout out Eugene, good to see you. And then I have my high school coach, I have my childhood best friend, just, the list could go on forever. And me naming that is just a testament to the support I have always had and still have. I also want to acknowledge all of the coaches that I've ever had that guided me along the way. Alfonso Jew, Oscar Jimenez, Eugene, Kareem Kwan, and Jane Albright from Nevada. Thank you guys all for seeing the potential in me and helping me realize it. Thank you for never giving up on me, no matter how bad my attitude was. Lastly, I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this incredible honor. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame is a dream come true, and I'm grateful beyond words. Just to answer one of your questions, the people who molded me would have to be my family here. You know, I grew up the youngest of four. I have 3 older brothers, and I don't remember a time where basketball wasn't in my hands. So that built into the grit that I, instilled. And so with that, when I went to Reno, this wasn't mentioned, but 3 out of my 6 years I didn't play. I tore an ACL each one of those years. So I didn't get to play half of my college career. But being from the Bay Area and the background I had and that grit that was taught, it just instilled in me to persevere and make it through and finish my career strong. So this recognition is not just for me, but for everyone who has been a part of my journey. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
One more time for all 6 inductees. Now what we're going to do is kind of meander out the hallway there for the official unveiling of the plaques that will go up on the wall. So if everybody would kind of proceed out that way, we'll see the official unveiling.